Okay, so now we have the skeletal system. So, skeletal system. So, we will know here what comprises this skeletal system. Okay, so is the so first and foremost, what are the functions of the bones? Okay, so functions are it's easily support of the body. Yes, as you can see, protection of the soft organ. Okay, especially the brain, diba? So, ayan, the skull. The skull. So, and also movement due to attached skeletal muscles, definitely. And also storage of minerals and fats and blood cell formation also are the functions of the bones. So actually, bones of the human body, what's the component of the skeletal system? So the component of the skeletal system will have the bones. And actually, a baby bone has about 300 bones at birth. But eventually, this these bones fuse as the baby grow together to form the 206 bones that's the adult have. Some of the baby bones are made entirely of the special materials called cartilage. So, in adult, we have the skeletal system includes the 206 bones. And these bones are organs made of dense connective tissues, mainly tough protein collagen. Of course, the bones contains blood vessels, nerves, and other tissue. And these are hard and rigid due to deposits of the calcium and other mineral salts within their living tissues. So, yun nga. Bones actually functions protection of the internal organs, protection of the soft organs. Yan. At the same time, storage of mineral and fats. It stores and releases fats. At the same time, what? Produces blood cell. Blood cell formation, then stores and releases minerals. It stores and releases minerals and facilitates movement due to attached skeletal muscles, as you can see in the picture, and at the same time, support of the body. Okay, that's why we can stand. So, ayan, that's the functions of the bones in our body. We have the two types, basic types of the bone tissue. So, the basic types of the bone tissue, okay, we have the compact bone and spongy bone. So, as you can see in the picture, yeah, compact bone, it's homogeneous. Whereas the spongy bone, these are the small needle-like pieces of bones, many open spaces, as you can see in the slides. Let's go to the classification of the bones. And actually, bone classifies by their shape. So we have the long bone, okay? And an example for the long bone, we have the bone in the arms and the legs. We have the long bone. These bones are longer than they are wide. So an example for this is the arms and the legs. So, ayan, humerus of the arm. So, next is the short bone. So, when we speak about the short bone, okay, we are referring to what? To the carpals of the wrist as a given example. So, short bone usually square in shape, cube-like, like for example, the wrist and the ankle. So we have the flat bones. So flat bones, this is the, okay. So that's the flat bones. So an example for this is the parietal bone of the skull. So because it's flat, curved. So an example is the skull and the sternum. Now we have the what? Irregular bones. So, irregular bone. Example is the vertebrae. So, yan. Odd shape. Example is the vertebrae and the pelvis. So, for the long bone, okay, of course, it's typically longer. Yan nga, oh. Long. That's long bone. And have a shaft with heads at both ends. Yan. Both ends. Okay? It contains mostly sa kanya ay compact bone. And example for this long bone is the femur and the humerus. Okay, so you have the what? In the long bone. So you have the diaphysis. Okay, so diaphysis. Ayan, from there. Okay, diaphysis. So from there to the here. Okay, so diaphysis, that shaft what composed of the diaphysis? Composed of the compact bone. So we have naman the epiphysis. Okay, that's the, as you can see, that's end of the bone. Okay, you have the proximal epiphysis and the distal epiphysis. So that's the end of the bone and composed most of the spongy bone. So magpa-proximal man siya and even the distal epiphysis that compose the spongy bone. So to the structures of the long bone. So this is how it look like with the structures of the long bone. So you have what? Okay. So periosteum. So when we speak of periosteum, that is actually outside covering of your diaphysis. So that's periosteum. And they are composed of the connective tissue membrane. So, ayun. We have the sharpest fiber, wherein this sharpest fiber secure periosteum to the underlying bone. And of course, we have the arteries. So, what happened? Okay, the action is, okay, supply bone cells with the nutrients. So, ayan, these arteries supplies bone cell with nutrients. So that's the structures of the long bone. For the short bones, so generally, you will see it, okay? An example for the short bones where you find is in your hands, your carpals, and even in your at your feet, your tarsals and your carpals. So, ayan siya. And generally what? That is generally cube shape and contains mostly spongy bone. So, si flat bone, so that is, kaya nga flat eh, thin and flattened, usually curved. So, example is the skull, the ribs, and the sternum. So, usually curved, thin layer of compact bone around the layer of the sponge bone. And this is actually a regular bone. So, why it's a regular bone? Because it's irregular in shape and do not fit into other bone classification categories. Yan, for this bone. For the axial skeleton, let us see. It supports and protects the organs of the head, as you can see in the picture, neck, and trunk. So, the 80 bones of the axial skeleton from the vertebral axis of the body, they include the bones of the head, the vertebral column, the ribs, and the breastbone or the sternum. So, ayan, axial skeleton. So, of course, the skull, the cranium and facial bones, the hyoid bones, which anchors the tongue and muscle associated with swallowing, and of course, the vertebral column or the vertebrae and disc and bony thorax, ribs, and the sternum. So that's the axial. So vertebral column, the usually bone at the back. So it comprises what? 7 cervical, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, 5 sacral, and 1 coccyx. So vertebrae separated by the intervertebral disc made of cartilage. The joints. These joints or articulation is the place where two bones come together. So, yan. So, we have the fibrous. These are immovable connect bones, no movement. There's no movement for the fibrous. Example, skull and the pelvis. You have the cartilaginous naman eh. Slightly movable bones, and this is actually attached by cartilage, a little movement, like for example spinal ribs. So si synovial, it's freely movable. So much more movement than cartilaginous joints. Cavities between bones are filled with synovial fluids, and this fluid helps lubricate. So you have hinge. Okay, this hinge is a joint actually that allows the extension and retraction of an appendage. So an example for this is the what? Elbow and the knee. So this is how it looks like. Ball and socket. So ball and socket joint allows for the what? Radial movement in almost any direction. Okay, where can you find this? And they can be found in the hips and shoulders. So hip and shoulder. It's an example of the gliding. So gliding, it's joint bones slide past each other. Mid-carpals and mid-tarsal joints are gliding joints. Example in the hands and in the feet. Saddle. Saddle. This type of joint actually occurs when the touching surface of two bones have both concave and convex region with the shape of the two bones complementing one another and allow a wide range of movement. These are the bones of the head. So, ayan. Side view. These are naman the front view of the skull bone. So, front view.